Hello folks, this is Suli here. So we didn't end up doing an AI Survivor match this week. I promised I was going to talk about one of the alternate histories at the end of the live stream today, but I was so frustrated by the way the Darkest Dungeon 2 ended that we didn't get to that. So I'm recording this right now so I can tell you about the results of one of the alternate histories that I did. I looked back at some of the games we had done this season, and the one I was most interested in was game number 4, which was the Gilgamesh game, where with the community was like 80% on Gilgamesh to win the game, and then he ended up not even top 2ing. He ended up in the wild card game. So I was like, all right, let's rerun this 20 times, figure out what happened when the map was replayed again and again and again. These are the results from me replaying this. So I would have bet anything that this leader that won 65% of the time was going to be Gilgamesh. If you had just showed me this before playing this. Yeah, about that. So this is the reason why I don't gamble, because that turned out not to be right. Let's just go ahead real quick and look at the screenshots real quickly here, and then we'll get to the summary spreadsheet, and I'll talk a little bit about what I saw. Okay, so game number 1, Qin Shi Huang won a domination victory. Game 2, Joao, I think that's how you pronounce it. Portugal's leader won, as we saw in the actual game number 4. All right, then we had a Qin victory, and another Qin victory, and another Qin victory, and another Qin victory, and another Qin victory. He won 8 games in a row when I played this. Yeah, he won games 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Yeah, and then finally, Joao managed to break that streak with a space race victory. He was not quite as dominant in the second half of the games I played, but still, there's another Qin victory here, another Portuguese victory. Peter won a diplomatic victory. This was not really deserved. Qin was about to win the space race in like 10 more turns. And then another space race victory for Qin. And then finally, Gilgamesh had a win. Only to have Gilgamesh win 3 in a row. One by culture again, and then one by culture a third time. And then there were some more Qin victories at the end just to prove that it wasn't a fluke. So let's close this and look at the actual spreadsheet. Here's the total. You've probably noticed Qin shows up a lot here. It turns out that he was the best leader on this map. He was the 65%. And Gilgamesh actually won the second most. Well, not he did tie for the second most wins, but he actually came in second place the most. He had but far and away the most second place victories. So those two were the strongest AIs on the map, but everybody had them backwards. I actually picked Gilgamesh to win and Qin to come in second, and that was just the wrong way around, as it turned out, because Qin was actually the strongest leader. Here's the big data breakdown that has like all the information from the individual games. It's probably a little bit overwhelming, but I'll put it in the background while I talk a little bit about these AI leaders. Okay, so why was Qin so strong on this map? Well, he had a really good starting position, like way better than I think people realized. Let me see if I can find his start real quick. Just pull it up here from the screenshots. But he had double corn resources, I believe, and China starts with agriculture, so they can hook that up right from the very start of the game. Here's the pictures from the game. Here we go. Here's the starting position. So double corn resources. He had copper at the start. China starts agriculture mining. So he almost always opened with bronze working very early and then connected the copper. And then he would put his second city like right over here every time. So he had another wet corn and then another copper. One of the things we've been seeing this season is that high production starts are really good for the AI. Like high production is just very, very good for them. So he had 2 cities that were just really good at cranking out units, which by the way were spears and axes because he had copper from like turn 5 or something crazy like that. And then extra happiness in the form of this gold resource, which would pick up when the capital expanded borders on turn 50. And then just a really good position in the middle of the map to expand outwards. Rivers everywhere. I know this desert is over here, but that didn't seem too troubling for him. He also managed to build Stonehenge in a lot of games, and then that caused his borders to pop, so he had kind of like the mini creative trait. When he founded religions, he also had really good luck at them spreading because he was on this central position on a river network that like ran across the middle of the map. Let me go back to the overhead map. Here it is. So like see this river system? Had kind of like this big river that ran all the way across the map. So any religion he founded spread really well. Qin almost never found himself in 1v2 wars. He was really good at being on the positive side of any wars that broke out. Okay, the other leader that did really well. Well, there's two other, Gilgamesh and Zhuao. They're the two leaders that did really well. Gilgamesh, we weren't wrong. His starting position was really strong. This is about as good a starting position as you'll ever see. Gilgamesh ran over Sitting Bull in pretty much every single game. That almost never did not happen, which is why Sitting Bull was eliminated 95% of the time and had 0 points. So, like, everybody was not wrong about that in the community. Gilgamesh did have an awesome start. The problem was, what did he do after he overran Sitting Bull? Like, he would take over Sitting Bull's land, and then you'd have like this eastern corner of the map. The problem is, after that, he was bordering Qin, and Qin was the strongest AI leader on the map. So he didn't really have anywhere to expand after that. And that's kind of what we saw in the actual game 4 as well. Gilgamesh takes out Sitting Bull, and then it's like, oh, well, I can't really go anywhere from here. We just didn't realize how strong Qin was going to be. The other problem for Gilgamesh is his starting position was kind of isolated on the eastern side of the map. Any religions he founded really did not spread well at all. Like you can kind of see, not on a river network, not really close to anyone except Sitting Bull, who he would kill in every game. So Gilgamesh often had diplomatic problems, and we did see that to an extent in the actual game 4 as well. So he was still really strong. I mean, he still won 3 times. He came close to winning a couple other times, and he was top 2 a lot. I think he had, what was it, 3 firsts, 4 seconds in the data. 3 firsts and 7 seconds. So he was top 2 50% of the time, but he was not the juggernaut we thought going into this map, that's for sure. The only other leader that did anything was the Portuguese leader, João. I was hesitant to pick him to do well because I thought he would get dogpiled diplomatically. That was not wrong. 12 offensive wars, 68 defensive wars. Oh my god. This dude was ganged up on over and over and over again. That's why he was eliminated 60% of the time. But when he didn't get ganged up on, he actually did quite well. He had 3 firsts and, 2 more seconds, which is pretty good considering that he died in 12 out of 20 games. Out of the 8 that he survived, he was top 2 almost always. And that's kind of what we saw. We saw a game where he didn't really get dogpiled at all. He did face a 1v2 in the actual game 4, but that was like late game where he was already pretty far out in front. So yeah, if he survived, then the Portuguese leader could do well. But you were not wrong if you were like me and you were skeptical that he would get attacked by other leaders. Okay, the rest of the leaders didn't really matter that much. They were all pretty weak. Peter was the best of the bunch, but I mentioned he had 1 diplomatic victory in game 14, but that was basically dumb luck because he was way behind and Qin was just going to win by spaceship. Just kind of got lucky that he had built the UN in that game and managed to win the vote. Other than that, he had a couple of second place finishes, some random kills. He just wasn't very strong on this map overall. Mao, similar. Mao was even weaker. This was just not a good map for Mao. He was a very popular pick for second, but he only survived about 50% of the time. He only had 2 second place finishes. He was very low on the kill count. He was a pretty inert leader on this map. If you look here, there are actually 2 games where he didn't fight a single offensive or defensive war. And neither one of those was a top 2 finish. He just kind of sat there doing nothing. So not a great showing from him. It wasn't a good starting position for him. Again, he's another Chinese leader, so he has the same starting techs as Qin. He has agriculture, mining. It's just a bad start for those techs. Like, there's no agriculture research to hook up. There's nothing that mining into bronze working is going to do for this start. So it's just kind of a mediocre to poor start. Didn't really line up with his techs. Wang Kan, I mean, well, he died 85% of the time. He usually was not first to die, but he sure didn't survive to the end of the game very often. He survived to the end of the game 3 times. He was second 2 of those 3 times, but he just got ganged up on way too much. He actually had a turn 84 elimination in one of these games, which is pretty wild. But he just didn't do anything. High piece weight in a game full of low piece weights. He just got run over too much. And then Sitting Bull was, he was just a joke on this map. Same piece weight as Wang Kan. His starting position was just absolutely awful. He was very clearly the correct pick for first to die. You should have picked him for first to die. He had a terrible starting position that didn't fit his techs. I mean, I guess he could farm the rice, but that's about it. He was always the trailing leader in score in every single game. It was miraculous that he survived in even one game. He was actually about to die. He had 1 city left, and then a Diplo victory hit. Qin hit Diplo victory right before he was about to die, which is pretty hilarious at a very early date of turn 272. But no points, no kills. And he was first to die 12 different times. In fact, there was one stretch where Qin won 8 games in a row, and Sitting Bull came in last 7 games in a row. So, yeah, this one was a little bit predictable. It just didn't play out quite the way that we expected. So, anyway, we will be back with our normal game next week. I'm looking forward to getting back to it, but it was also nice to take a break this week. So, yeah, Qin Shi Huang, apparently by far the best leader on this map. Who would have thunk it? Anyway, hope you enjoyed this. Hope you guys are having a great week. Until next time, take care. I'll see you guys on Friday.